Hello, friends and fellow VEDS, and welcome back to the channel. So I was going to make a similar video to the video I made last year where I was sleeving Magic the Gathering cards. However, my camera messed up while I was doing that. So I was not able to actually have the time lapse of me sleeving the cards. So instead, I decided I would just make the video talking to you while I shuffled the cards, because you do have to, when you have a new deck, you have to do quite a bit of shuffling before playing, because you need to mix up the type of cards that you get, so you're not just pulling like all land or all artifacts. I said last year I wasn't going to make videos about Magic the Gathering, so I need to stop talking about the specifics of the game and instead talk about the topic that I was going to talk about over the footage of me sleeving the cards, and that is my top 5 fantasy woodland talking animal characters. This deck is called Animated Armies, and it is from the Magic the Gathering line of Bloomburrow cards, which are basically talking animal decks, like fantasy woodland creatures. There are squirrels, there are mice, there are badgers, all sorts of things. This deck is raccoons. I really have an affinity for woodland talking animals in a fantasy setting because I grew up reading things like Redwall and Chronicles of Narnia. So I thought it would be fun if I just did a quick top 5. It actually was a little hard to come up with 5 that fit all those categories, that were talking animals, who were woodland, who were in a fantasy setting. Some people would say that any movie or book with a talking animal is a fantasy setting. I would disagree. Charlotte's Web, which are barnyard animals, so not even woodland animals to begin with, but Charlotte's Web is not a fantasy book. It is like a coming-of-age book. The main character just happens to be a pig. So if there are any obvious omissions from this list, that's probably why. But onto the list. Number 5 is Friar Tuck from the animated Robin Hood movie that the Walt Disney Company made in the 70s. This is one of my favorite Disney animated movies from that era. It has a lot of fun personality and a lot of, I love the kind of the cheap art style that a lot of those Disney movies in the 70s had, the more like sketchy kind of art style. I also like a lot of the voice cast. That's a lot of Western character actors who are getting voice roles in it, which is fun because I love Westerns. But the real reason Friar Tuck makes it onto the list instead of any of the other characters in that movie is that Friar Tuck has just always been my favorite of the Robin Hood crew in any adaptation, because he's the funny one, because of alcoholism. That's obviously not played up in the Disney one, but he's just kind of the jovial one. He is not usually as directly in the action as the other characters, and so he serves as kind of a different role than the other merry men. And I think that this is definitely one of the definitive versions of the character that I saw at a young age. Number 4 is Maeve from Wolfwalkers. Now this one I went back and forth on a little bit because Maeve is not always a woodland creature. Sometimes she is a woodland child. Wolfwalkers is about wolfwalkers, basically werewolves. These people who at night when they go to sleep possess the body of a wolf. And they can run around, and Maeve is the main character. Robin gets turned into one by Maeve on accident, and Maeve is kind of the spunky, excited one of those duos who kind of shows Robin the ropes. I ultimately put this on here because it's not like a traditional werewolf where the body turns into a wolf. It's not like a hybrid thing. They are wolves when they sleep. So they are fully a woodland creature. And the very conceit of them being wolfwalkers easily fits into the fantasy. But mainly I just wanted to talk about Wolfwalkers because it's an amazing movie. It's by my favorite animated studio, Cartoon Saloon. It came out during COVID, so it was one of those kind of lost in the shuffle movies. It's on Apple TV, but hopefully plenty of libraries have it. I know that Cartoon Saloon put out a physical release of the movie as part of their Ireland trilogy, with Secret of Kells and Song of the Sea. It's a beautiful movie. It deals with real-world history in an interesting way while building up this mythology of the Wolfwalkers. And at its core, there is a beautiful story of friendship as Robin and Maeve get to know each other. Number 3 is The Cowardly Lion. Now, I know what you're saying, Caleb, lions are not woodland creatures. To which I would argue, lions are woodland creatures in the world of Oz. Oz is a land where woodland creatures include lions, tigers, and bears, which means that the Cowardly Lion, who has always been my favorite character from Wizard of Oz, is a woodland creature. And he talks. He sings even. I love him. He was my favorite as a kid, I think, because he is the most overtly silly of the 3 companions. He is the companion who never learns his lesson. He is never brave in the runtime of the movie. I don't believe he's ever brave in the page length of the book, but his humor and the performance was enough for little Caleb to latch onto him. I even had a stuffed animal that I named, he was a lion that I named the Cowardly Lion Jr. Because I was like, this doesn't look enough like the Cowardly Lion for me to call him the Cowardly Lion, so this will be his son, canonically. Number 2 is from Redwall. In Redwall, along with the series that my number 1 character comes from, is what I would call a floodgate pick, which is basically, if I let more than one character from this series onto the list, then the floodgates are going to open and the list is just going to turn into characters from that franchise. The character, Basil Staghair. Went back and forth because I was like, I can only pick one or else the floodgates will open. And I was like, do I pick Martin the Warrior? He's really cool. There's some really awesome villains in the series. I love the Sparrows who live at the top of the Abbey. But I think I'm gonna have to pick Basil, who is a rabbit, who is kind of this British stereotype of a soldier who comes along in the first book as Matthias is trying to quest to save the Abbey and becomes a sort of rapscallion type do-gooder who helps the Abbey people defend themselves from Clooney and his horde of rodents. And like most of the characters in the first Redwall, he establishes the type of character that that animal is going to be. So because Basil Staghair exists, every rabbit in the Redwall series is now part of this, like, they're called the Long Patrol, rabbit soldier types, who get retconned to serve at Salmon-Dashdrone, which is like the Badger Kingdom. They all add a sense of levity to the story while also being highly competent in battle, which is important in Redwall because usually the characters are incompetent in battle because they're peace-loving woodland creatures who are forced to defend their way of life. So it's always fun to see the Long Patrol show up, and you wouldn't have the Long Patrol if it wasn't for Basil Staghair. And number 1 comes from the Chronicles of Narnia. And once again, floodgate option. You could talk about so many. Obviously, you got Aslan, you got the Bree, I believe is the horse's name, from Horse and His Boy. You have all the owls from Silverchair. So many great options. But my number 1, with a bullet, is one of my favorite characters ever. And that is Reepicheep, the small mouse with a big heart. A little bit vain, but that's fine. A swashbuckler, a adventurer, and a loyal companion. Reepicheep helps out, and he only shows up in 3 of the 7 books. He only shows up in Prince Caspian, Voyage of the Dawn Treader, and at the end of the final battle. And in Prince Caspian, he is not one of the main characters. He's just one of the ensemble. But I think he left such an impression that he becomes a much more important character in Voyage of the Dawn Treader, and in a lot of ways, the emotional heart of that story, or at least tied to Eustace Clarence Scrubb, who goes through the most dynamic character change in that story. This is going to sound weird because he is a mouse in a fictional world, but as a kid, I always saw him as kind of an aspirational character. I wanted to grow up to be like Reepicheep. Nowadays, I don't know if Reepicheep is the person I would model my life after. I don't think I have the adventurous spirit he does, but I still find him to be a very fun and very charming character. And so easily, my number one fantasy woodland talking critter. So let me know who your favorite talking animal characters are. You don't have to let my specific caveats and guidelines limit yours. Any character that you like that's a talking animal, let me know, because I like the talking animal characters, even if they aren't fantasy woodland talking animal critters. Friends of fellow VEDSies, I have to go play Magic the Gathering, so I will see you tomorrow.